How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at The Village from 2004, written, produced, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. This movie stars Joaquin Phoenix, Bryce Dallas Howard, Adrien Brody, and also actually features Sigourney Weaver. I'm a big fan of the Alien franchise. Always good whenever we get to see Sigourney Weaver. Anyway, basically, coming up pretty soon, M. Night Shyamalan has a new film, Knock at the Cabin, and I'm curious to check it out. But while we're waiting on that, I thought it would be fun to take a look at some other M. Night Shyamalan movies, and this one, actually one that I had not seen before. I mean, it has kind of a reputation, but it was one that I knew I wanted to check out just because, you know, I like a lot of other M. Night Shyamalan things, and I had seen The Creature for this movie, and it had kind of been one of those movies that I wanted to check out more to see what The Creature does than anything else. But this is a movie that had been kind of in the to-watch pile for way too long, and with the new one coming out, I thought, man, now's the right time. But anyway, about the reputation. Basically, M. Night Shyamalan's career, it started out with some really, really good movies, and then he had a few movies that were a little shakier, where people started to disagree on them, and that's where this movie fits. And then after this, we got lots of bad M. Night Shyamalan movies. It's kind of weird because I feel like right now, starting with The Visit, he kind of entered his wild card phase where I honestly have no idea what he's gonna put out next, so fingers crossed for Knock at the Cabin. But anyway, I finally put it on, and now that I've seen the movie, I can see why some people hate it, and I can see why some people love it. Me, I'm kind of in the middle. It kept me engaged the whole time, and the world is really memorable, and I did find myself thinking about it the next day, and I think the day after I actually favored it a little better, and it does kind of stick in your head. It's not forgettable, but it definitely has problems. And, yeah, a few of these. The movie takes itself very seriously, but at times, really funny things can happen, and I don't think the movie's aware of it. The characters act kind of strange, but then again, they're kind of a cult, so maybe they're supposed to be this way. But the rules and the world and the systems, it's all a little bit too strange and mysterious, and I feel like it needed to be a little bit toned down and a little bit better explained because, yeah, the world's weird, but I need a foothold to be able to enter this world, and it just kind of goes all over the place. But yeah, it did keep me invested, and it did keep me thinking, and overall, I think this movie is worth a watch. Just know it's kind of on the weirder side, and just know it's not perfect. But I think it's worth checking out, but definitely not a great M. Night Shyamalan movie. But I can see why it has its fans, and I can see if you're into, like, old-timey atmosphere, you might absolutely love this movie. So I know that some people absolutely love it, and if you do, I can see where you're coming from. But I'm not, like I said, I like it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I will definitely point out it does have problems. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about this movie's plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I want to go through the plot, make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about, and every now and then pausing and analyzing something, but I won't go anywhere towards the end, so don't worry, no major spoilers. Anyway, we open up in a village. It's an old-timey village, you know, no electricity, everyone's wearing itchy, scratchy clothing. They don't ever tell us what year it is, but sometime in the past. And there's some kind of cult, I guess. You don't really ever see them worshiping something, but a group of people that all have a really strict set of rules. And the biggest among these rules is no leaving the village. There's a bunch of lamps all around the edge of the village, and they say that there are other towns. They're a village, and they talk about the towns. So there's a place not too far away with more people, but they don't trust them. They're bad. Don't go to the town. Anyway, there's woods around the village, and everyone's afraid to go in them because of those we don't speak of. The mysterious creatures in the red cloaks, big creepy fingers, and like a bunch of spikes on their back and a weird face. This was always one of those, you see the village and you're like, okay, old-timey village or something, and then someone shows you this monster, and yeah, like I said, M. Night Shyamalan as a director had me interested, but I kind of just wanted to see what this monster did because he looks so cool, and he's not in the movie a whole lot, enough to be a presence and enough to enjoy him, but yeah, I kind of wish this was more a monster movie creature feature just because he's so cool. But anyway, don't go in the forest or he's going to eat you, and everybody is of course afraid, and they have like a game where they stand as close to the forest as they can without getting scared, and the monster is starting to kill small animals, and they're trying to give it sacrifices to keep it appeased. And also I do want to say that name, Those We Don't Speak Of, describing the monsters, they speak of them all the time. It's really more those who must not be named. They don't name them, but they totally speak of them. So a little bit of a misnomer, if you will. But anyway, the creatures have red cloaks, and red is the bad color, and yellow is the safe color. So if you want to be safe, you wear a yellow cloak, and you look like Georgie from it, but whatever. So there's these rules with colors, and we see at the beginning of the film, these girls see a flower that's bright red, the bad color, and they grab it up and they bury it because that way they get rid of the bad color. But this is shown to us out of context, and we get a bunch of shots of this weird world, and we just see these girls burying a flower, and we're like, what is that about? And then it's explained later. This is a common thing to build mystery. Give us something strange, have us wondering what's going on, and then explain it to us. A mystery, a hook. And I get that filmmaking structure. But when your world is so weird and so strange, we don't really need mystery hooks, And in fact, you give us too much weird stuff, you give us too much strange stuff. The idea of a mystery hook is good, but can definitely be overdone. And if so much of this world is so mysterious and you don't really know what's going on, you don't know why the girls buried the flower, you don't know why the town is isolated, you don't know why this guy is standing on a stump with his back to the woods, there's already enough mystery, and this definitely pushes it too far where you're just like, I'm watching these strange people, what are they doing? Can someone please give me a foothold, But anyway, all the people act really strange, which I guess, yeah, this is sort of some sort of isolated cult, but given how many of M. Night Shyamalan's other characters, like the people in Old, those kids, I wonder how much of this was really intentional, because sometimes Shyamalan characters just act strange, and it seems like most people in this movie are. And also, it takes a while for the main characters to become obvious. I mean, yeah, you could just look at the credits and go, oh, okay, that's the top listed star, but from just a purely observation standpoint, the main characters are this blind girl and this quiet boy. But we don't know that right away. we're shown a bunch of stuff. Like there's a funeral at the beginning of the movie, then there's a big group dinner, then there's a meeting of the elders, and then these random kids with the flowers, and you don't really get who your main characters are. You know, and I guess sometimes that can be interesting, but really I'm not a big fan of it. You really need to ground yourself in likable, relatable characters, and I feel that your main point of view character really should be established pretty early on. And again, this world is very strange and weird with its own set of rules. Having a more obvious main character would have helped ground you in this strange world and taken something that's strange and different and made it more accessible to the audience, you know? So really, we should take this blind girl and we should have followed her all throughout these opening scenes, you know? Keep the funeral but show it strictly from her perspective and have her follow and witness these other things, and just nailed it more that we're following this character. Anyway, another thing that's strange in this movie is the romance. This subplot will give you a good illustration as to how strange people act. The blind girl's older sister falls in love with the quiet guy really all of a sudden, and he doesn't even know that she likes him, and she decides she's going to propose. Well, I guess good on them for having a progressive society, but of course, if the quiet guy doesn't really know you, he's not gonna say yes, and this leads to an unintentionally hilarious smash cut where she's confessing her undying love and then cut to her crying in bed. A little too relatable. But anyway, after that happens, she just gets over it and marries someone else. Really, really quickly. Again, very strange. I'm gonna ask this guy that I don't really know to marry me. He says no, I'm sad. Oh, but wait, I'm marrying someone else. This is a strange little plot here, isn't it? But then after that, the younger sister, the blind girl, the main character, goes up to the quiet guy and says, hey, now that my sister's married, I'm allowed to find someone, and she basically just goes to the same guy her sister liked and was like, you're mine now, come with me. And it's revealed later that he is actually passionately in love with her, but again, he's quiet, and we don't get that these two had this history, and it just feels like, mine, come with me, you know, and it just kind of, it doesn't set it up as the best romance, and then all of a sudden later on, he's like, I've always loved you, and I'm like, you did? Good for you, I guess. But then there's a plot point with this romance that I absolutely hate. It happened on screen, and I'm like, that is so stupid. Basically, those who shall not be named, or spoken of, they start attacking the town, and everybody has to go into their cellars and hide. And the main girl just stands in front of her house and says, I do not want to go to safety. I want the guy that I like to save me. What? First of all, like I said, the romance between these two characters is not really clear right off the bat, but even if he did like you, he would have probably assumed that you are old enough and capable enough to find your own way. I mean, he ran to her house, which means that she knew she must be home unless he tried a bunch of other things, risking his life first. But he, like, maybe I'm not as romantic as I should be, but I should assume that if you're at home and you have a cellar and you know where it is and you just have to walk into the cellar and you're safe, that you're capable enough to do this on your own and that you don't need some arbitrary, unnecessary saving. And she just does it to prove a point about his love. Like, I don't know. I don't know how he would know that she would even need saving, and maybe she's willing to risk her life to get him to confess to his feelings more with this action, but it really just felt overly dramatic, dangerous, and illogical. But I guess that's what love is. I don't know. that scene. But anyway, the problem, we talked about a lot of setup, but what actually is the goals or the plot of this movie? Well, the quiet guy kind of wants to go to the outside world. The beginning of the movie showed a funeral, a young boy died, and they said, hey, the outside world probably has medicine and resources. We should really go over there. Plus, he talks about how one of the villagers who's mentally handicapped goes in the woods all the time, and they think, maybe if you're pure of heart, the creatures won't eat you or something. I don't know. But the thing is, because the boy, he already died. That's the beginning of the movie. The characters have a vague want, but no needs. They don't need to go outside of the village. They just kind of want to, and that is not a good motivation for the plot, They really should need to leave the village. It should be something more desperate. And later on in the movie, probably around the halfway point, maybe a little later, there does finally arouse a need to get out of the village, and it does propel the plot forward much faster, but for most of the movie, there's no need to leave the village, and in turn, no strong plot motivations. And I guess one thing I should mention, and I won't say what it is, but this is obviously an M. Night Shyamalan movie. There will be the classic M. Night Shyamalan twist. And again, I won't spoil it, but that being said, this is one of those twists that, yeah, it kind of sucks knowing that M. Night Shyamalan's gonna give us a twist. Because you tell me this is a Shyamalan movie, and you explain the concept to me, my first guess, so it's this, right? Yes, it is one of the most easiest movie twists to guess, and I really feel like even if we didn't know it was Shyamalan, and we didn't know going into it that there was going to be a twist, I think a lot of people would have still guessed it. So yeah, not great, and I really don't know how you would fix it, because I get what he was trying to go for, but yeah, I don't know, it's too easy to guess, especially, and that's sort of the thing, I think, later films, Shyamalan's trying to distance himself from being the twist guy, because yeah, if you know a twist is coming, it's usually much less impactful, so yeah, not the best twist there. It's okay, it's an interesting concept and I get what he's going for, but yeah, again, another case of not the best. But anyway, like I said, I can totally see why a lot of people do hate this movie, and I can see why some people really like it. If you like that old-timey atmosphere, if you like this world, if you like the concept, and the cinematography's good, it looks good, but yeah, I definitely say that this movie, it's good, but it has its problems, and the problems are kind of bad, You really needed to be focused more on that main character, and maybe explain the rules a little better, and maybe not go quite as far with everything, and maybe not have everybody act quite so strange, and give us more of the monster. I like the monster. But anyway, overall, I did find myself thinking about it more the next day and liking it a little more the next day, so I can't really complain too hard. But yeah, I guess you can say it's a good movie that just doesn't quite work. So yeah, I can kind of recommend this. Just know that going into it, know that it's not perfect, but probably worth a watch. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be some videos that are in some way related to this. I'm not sure what will be there, but I'll find something. If you want to see more, click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.